All right, grab your Bibles if you would. I need to make a statement, if I could, right quick. Go ahead and turn it down a little bit more. Right quick, we're going to have a call conference tonight. Sunday night, we're going to announce it at the Sunday school. We're going to announce it at 11 o'clock. That's two announcements before, two services before. We're going to take I'd forgotten an item of business last night, no big deal. We're just voting a couple of people in the membership. So if you would appreciate you making note of that in your mind. We're going to go ahead and have a call conference tonight, okay? Turn with me, if you will, in your Bibles to the book of 2 Corinthians in chapter number 7, if you will. Once again, the book of 2 Corinthians in chapter number 7. That's what we're going to be taking a look at. Just to set ourselves inside of the text and the context we've been working on here for just a little while. And so if you would appreciate you turning there. The book of 2 Corinthians in chapter number 7. I'm not sure what verse it is, just right offhand. We'll certainly find it. Yeah, there it is. Take a look, if you will, at verse number 11. It says, "For behold, this selfsame thing that you have sorrowed after a godly sort." Verse number 11, 2 Corinthians chapter 7. Turn it down just a little bit more. It said, "For behold, this selfsame thing that you sorrowed after a godly sort." And the Apostle Paul is talking to the church at Corinth, if you will, and he's talking about them, the church as a whole. "What carefulness it wrought in you, yea, what clearing of yourselves, yea, what indignation, yea, what fear, yea, what vehement desire, yea, what zeal, yea, what revenge. In all these things ye have approved yourselves to be clear in this matter." Now, the matter that he's talking about, let's pray first of all. Father, we pray just now, Lord, you touch the lives of these of us that have gathered here today. Lord, those of us that are hearing, Lord, live right now, Lord, and we'll hear by internet later on, Lord, on YouTube. Pray that you speak to their hearts through this word. Ask all the precious name of Jesus for a simple prayer today. And all of God's people said amen and amen. Quickly, you
told me to remind you, how did we get deceived?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to work on that. I actually remembered it, but don't let me forget it, though. Just to kind of set the whole thing up. Remember last time as we were together, we were dealing with the idea about how to have the proper action. First of all, proper attitude and proper action, if you will, towards church discipline. That's what it is we're dealing with. Now, when we talk about church discipline, immediately, in other words, there's where it is. That's something, in other words, that immediately puts people on guard. The Apostle Paul is dealing with something that happened back in 1 Corinthians chapter 5. So I'm just hitting it just to be able to kind of build the momentum of be able to know where we're at. And once it is the Apostle Paul dealt with that, he had an attitude and he had some actions. The attitude, in other words, you shouldn't allow this nonsense. He said, matter of fact, some of you, in other words, don't have the right attitude. You're all puffed up and you're glorying in this situation. Now, can you imagine that? You nail it down. It does happen. It's still happening today. And the attitude about that whole thing ain't helping by no stretch of the imagination. The action now, if you will, the Apostle Paul said, get that individual out of here. Get them out. Turn them over to Satan. Read it when you get a chance. We've already dealt with that to some degree already, so we'll go back to that, if you will. Take a look at the other lessons that is we've done on this, if you will, back a ways. Just look for them for Sunday school. The other thing of it is he's dealing with is the idea of these individuals that we're talking about here, living in sin, have no intention, now listen to me very carefully, have no intention of repenting, no intention, in other words, of doing anything different, and actually feeling comfortable, apparently, in other words, to some degree, inside the church because of these people, some of these people's attitudes, not everybody, but some of these people's attitudes, if you will. And so from that point right there, that ain't helping. It never has. It never will. A little leaven going to leaven the whole lump. And that's what we have got to avoid. That's what the Apostle Paul said. If you're not careful, he said, this whole stinking church, he said, will go down the tubes in a heartbeat. So there's where it is we have kind of worked around, come to the idea about people being deceived. I think that's where it is we're at. I'm trying to tie the thoughts together of where we were at, how people could end up, in other words, getting or being deceived out of this whole thing. The question was asked, how does this thing happen? Oh, I know what it is. I think somebody made the statement, the idea, don't you believe all these people it is that have backslidden, what have you, changed their mind about doctrine and different things on that line, that there was something insidious, if you will, hidden down inside of them anyway. Not true. Not true by no stretch of the imagination. People can get deceived whenever, in other words, they will not receive the love of the truth. You say, well, how do you know that? Well, too many people, in other words, have turned around and come back. So the idea that there was something, in other words, laying inside of them or something along that line, it's not true. As a matter of fact, I got to be careful. I'm going to step on my 11 o'clock message, so I'm not going to go to the verse that is that Sister Dina brought up in James chapter number 1. I'm actually going to be preaching on that. Find that interesting. Confirmation, if you will, of the verse, the circle that we're making in Sunday school, the verse even in our services. So I find it interesting, but let's go to the point right quick. So we can cut to the chase. Turn to the book of Second Thessalonians in chapter number 2, if you would. 2 Thessalonians in chapter number 2. And I'll show you exactly, in other words, how this thing happens. Somebody, and like I said, and whenever it says that there was no. There was something inside these individuals. That's simply just, in other words, not true. Not by no stretch of the imagination. Anybody, and I don't care who it is. We're talking about Peter. We're talking about Judas. There's two examples, if you will, of somebody, in other words, that ended up. I'm going to preach a message on one of these days, or it'll be a part of a message. How many times was Peter lost? No, don't answer the question. It's just something I'm going to preach on one of these days. How many times was Peter lost? How many times did he do something? Don't be counting. Don't be counting. Don't even go there. How many times, in other words, did he end up doing something that if he had died in that situation, or the Lord would have came back, that he'd end up splitting hell wide open? Yeah. Okay, so there's somebody that ended up turning around and coming back. As a matter of fact, let me make my point right quick. You do realize the Apostle Paul blasted, if you will, Peter, if you will, apostles, some of the other ones, if you will. Take a look at Galatians chapter 2. We'll get there one of these days. And Barnabas, and certainly, if you go to John Mark, they already had a little set to with him. You do realize, in other words, Paul blasted them. I said Paul blasted them. Okay? And then I got to go back to the idea, you got people that make the statement, if you will, the idea, well, somebody's got to be insane, in other words, to be able to act a certain way, take some actions, talk to individuals. We're also going to deal with that also. Brother Paul, if there's anybody out there, have them come on in, if you will. You can come in and sit down if you would. We'd appreciate that. Immediately, I think it's important for us to understand, well, what good did that do for him to blast him? And by the way, when I talk about putting him on blast, you realize he wrote a letter called the Book of Galatians. One of the first letters, if you will, that was ever written, period, put a dot at the end of it. Possibly the only other letter that was written earlier than that is the Book of James. That's why we're in the Book of James. Because of the problems, if you will, the words that the church had early, the words in their ministry. So, from that point right there, so he puts them on blast. He not only puts them on blast, he puts their names down. He makes the statement they were to blame. That word blame is an interesting word. In the Greek, it also means that they were to be condemned. Right. I find it interesting, I really do. He made the statement that he said they're a bunch of hypocrites. Well, how in the world are you going to win somebody like that? Right. You'd have to be insane, wouldn't you? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Would you? Well, apparently not. Because he did turn around. Okay? So I thought I'd go ahead and get that out there just in case I don't get it. You ought to see what I've got up here. I have got a ton of material that y'all need somewhere along the line. So if you would, you're there at Second Thessalonians, you're viewed there, say amen. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power, signs, and what does it say? Lying wonders. There's where it is we got on the gold dust coming out of the nuts and what have you. As a matter of fact, it's interesting to me, and I'm going to do an expose on this charismatic chaos. That's on our website. We're going to fill that thing up with all these false prophecies, false prophet, false prophetesses, if you will, all these prophets, people prophesying and what have you, claiming to be apostles and prophets and stuff like that. I'm going to give you a ton of material showing this is uttered and told nothing but nonsense. I'll actually show you some prophecies, if you will, somebody speaking prophecies over individuals, and it never come to pass. You say, well, so how about the ones that does sometimes? It's just like any cold reading that you can get from an occultist, if you will. The idea about somebody's a spirit medium, they can be right some of the times. Jean Dixon, if you will, was somebody in others back in the day. She was 20% right. You say, well, 20% right, isn't that pretty good? No, it's not good at all. You need to be 100%. Right. If you're really a prophet, if you're really an apostle, come on, if you're really a prophetess, if you will, they're 100% right. And anytime they're wrong, they're wrong. So, period, they're wrong. So, we'll deal with that a little bit later on. But this is the all-power signs and lying wonders. If you don't think that people are deceived by numbers, signs, and lying wonder, matter of fact, the Apostle Paul, the one we have here in our church, no, I'm not kidding. Brother Paul made the statement when he come walking up to me after Sunday school bothering me. He made the statement, he said, in other words, how about telling them it's a wicked and a sinful generation that seeks after signs. Huh? A wicked and adulterous generation that seeketh after a sign. So look at your neighbor and say, quit looking for signs. Look at your neighbor on the other side. Don't be looking, or wonders either. Don't be looking for it. Right. It's not that we don't have a God that can't do it. Don't misunderstand me. But the idea about individuals having, in other words, that ability to work miracles, I don't believe it for a second. That's an apostolic sign gift, if you will. If you know somebody, bring them on down. We can use some. We'll put them to the test. You say, put them to the test. Well, isn't that kind of crude and rude? No, that's exactly what the church at Ephesus did. He put them to the test. He said, they're they that call themselves apostles. That we've tried them. We found them liars. That means put them to the test. Test the spirits to see if they're a God or not. Somebody ought to say amen right about that. Okay, let me go. It says, this is because I'm dealing with a thought here. With all power, signs, and lying wonders. Matter of fact, you remember the Lord Jesus Christ in the book of Matthew chapter 24 made a statement that said, if it were possible, because of these signs and lying wonders, they should deceive. Now listen to this. I'm getting my point, whether you think so or not. That they would, if it were possible, which is not, that they would even deceive the very elect. You say, well, why in the world can't the elect end up being deceived? Now watch this. Ultimately, because they are in obedience to the Lord, to the truth, and to everything else, to obedience, in other words, to their calling and everything else on the line. And how many knows the idea? You want to get on the right track real fast? Start doing what you're supposed to be doing. Come on, start doing what you're supposed to be doing. And start, in other words, being obedient to the truth. As soon as you do that, deception is gone. Go ahead.
The angels in heaven, weren't they all obedient?
Every one of them. 100% of them. Now watch this. I'm glad you said that. You're fixing to step on my 11 o'clock message. You're fixing to step on my 11 o'clock message. They were created perfect. So there wasn't something insidious down inside them like a sinful nature. Right. See, don't go there. Okay? Same thing with Adam and Eve. Okay? Now, I'm stepping on my 11 o'clock message, so can we get off that right quick? Sure. Because I'll explain it at the 11 o'clock message, okay? So notice, if you will, he says, in other words, with this signs and lying wonders, they're going to come with what now? Look at it. And with all deceivable of unrighteousness. You know how you can tell when somebody, in other words, whenever you're falling, in other words, for a lie and not the truth? It's when you'll sit there and justify the wicked and condemn the just. Right. That's an abomination to God. And if you think for a second that you can trifle with truth, you're out of your ever-loving mind. Right. You can't trifle with truth. Right. Look at your neighbor and say, you can't trifle with truth. Can't do it. As a matter of fact, you try it, and I guarantee you, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't make a difference what I care. See what the Bible says. With all deceivable of unrighteousness. See, it's the idea of sitting there pointing at some situation and saying, well, I don't think that's a big deal. Well, is that right? Well, is it the truth? Is it the way things are supposed to be? And when the answer is no, what should you do with it? Get away from it. When all of a sudden you see individuals, anything they say and what have you, they can't back it up, book, chapter, and verse. Get away from it. This is why I've got a problem with people, my friend, looking at the verse, what it is that folks post, write, put in articles, magazines, anything else on that line that's not biblical. I don't know about you, but when I read articles, I don't care what it is. I flip through that thing and I don't see book, chapter, and verse. You know what? You know how much time I spend with that? 20 seconds. None. Yeah, none. If you can't show me some verses, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you say. Not at all. An article, my friend, in other words, it's supposed to be biblical or something like that, doesn't have book, chapter, and verse in it. It's a worthless waste of time. And I've read messages, I've read articles, I've read all kinds of different things like that don't have any verses, yet though they're trying to give you some kind of theological truth, it's a worthless waste of time. It's deceivableness at best. Of all unrighteousness in them that what now? In them that perish. I mean, these folk are going to go to hell. So just in case you're thinking, well, is this really that big of a deal? Yeah, it is. People are going to die and go to hell, in other words, when they ain't got the truth. As a matter of fact, can I give you a verse right quick, just in case you're wondering about truth? Maybe I need to do it a little bit in just a minute. Well, it said, yeah, okay. It says, then the perish. Why? Why? Because they receive not what now? The love of the truth. Everybody's wanting love, right? And everybody want love? Well, guess what form it comes in? What form does it come in? Truth. That's the idea. That's why the idea that it says an open rebuke is better than secret love. As a matter of fact, I find it interesting, in other words, no more than I preached on love. What was it, last time we were together? She's not buying it either. Hey. Let me get off that right quick. Let me get off the love right quick. You guys don't believe it anyway. Truth's got love to it.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that's the best thing it is you can do, start to finish.
Yes.
Just tell somebody the truth.
Yes.
It says open rebuke is better than secret love. I'm afraid there was a whole lot of secret love. And by the way, the Bible says the idea we're supposed to reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. Why? Because the time will come when they got to endure sound doctrine. Heaping themselves teachers having itching ears. That's what we got all over the place.
Yeah.
All over radio, all over television, all over those of you that percentage-wise ain't watching me, you're watching somebody else online, one hand on that line, or watching me and somebody else, or something like that. Okay. Yeah. It says that they might be, what does it say now? Verse 10, that they might be what? Saved. That means the idea this parish is saved. You realize it's a heaven and hell issue. You can see that. Say amen. Amen. So don't think that we're situation is no big deal. Well, it's just your opinion, it's your preference, it's the flow. No. This is what the Bible says. Amen. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you something right quick. Remind me to come back to this. Take a look, if you will, at the book of John. And I'll show you about truths right quick. The book of John. Is that the New Testament? It is, isn't it? John chapter 8, verse number, I don't know, a little about verse 30, something like that. It says, and as he spake these words, the apostle, the Lord Jesus Christ just got through preaching the treasury, if you will, of scathing message. I mean scathing. He said, if you believe not that I am he, you'll die in your sins. It wasn't one of these little sugar stick things it is. In other words, you're watching, instead of what it is you need to be listening to. He said, but notice, if you will, and notice what happened, verse number 31. See the idea, can I talk to y'all just for a minute? You realize, in other words, this namby-pamby preaching, what have you, it may get somebody forward, but I guarantee you, they're not going to stay that way. Right. If my friend, in other words, that God convicts them of their filthy, rotten sins, and they get down here, in other words, and try to do something with it, repent, if you will, and the idea of starting, in other words, living like they're supposed to, that's what's going to stick. So that's why the idea, in other words, me preaching like it is that I do, and I'll show you biblically. You just stick and stay with me. The idea, this is what's needed, whether we like it or not. Yes.
We're always talking about, I don't remember who they are, but the two preachers and the conversion rate and the success.
Let me hit it right quick. D.L. Moody, if you will, once saved, always saved. He was the kind of evangelist like we have today, very popular. If he didn't have every church in town that was backing him up and what have you, he wouldn't go. And so that's why he drew tremendous crowds. And he's supposed to be said to have won over 1 million souls. That sound pretty good? It does say amen. 1 million souls. That sound pretty good? Yeah. Just take it easy. It ain't gonna stay there. So just take it easy. But then all of a sudden, another fellow by the name of Charles Grandison Finney, if you will, nobody liked him, everybody hated his stinking guts, something fierce. I mean, matter of fact, nobody would back him in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Almost sounds like an Old Testament prophet, doesn't it? Okay, so the truth is, he only won, now listen to me now, you impressed with that? He only won 500,000. That's half.
The Lord Jesus didn't win that.
What? Watch this. Well, we're going to find out. We'll show you which ones he did, okay? Yeah, we'll show you real quick. How about the idea, with D.L. Moody, they did a survey on his deal. 75% of the people that profess Christ under his ministry backslid. So do the math right quick. 250,000. Okay, now, with Charles Grandison Finney, 85% of the people that profess Christ under his ministry stuck. Do the math. 85. Well, round it up, round it down. Round it. Okay, anyway, Finney beat the guy with everything against him. He preached hard. He put everybody and their brother into hell. Moody was constantly talking about just greasy grace and jumping on that line. That's like 75% end up backsliding. Somebody ought to say amen like that. Just showing you the idea. This is in real life. This is in real life. This is exactly. Matter of fact, the people that did the survey for Finney was actually trying to prove it is that the people that professed Christ under him, in other words, wouldn't stick and turn around backfired on him.
That's right.
I think it was Henry Ward Beecher, if I'm not mistaken, got sideways with him. Imagine that. Sideways with him and tried to prove the idea that, in other words, what it is that he believed, in other words, wasn't right. Well, that backfired on him real bad. And when they did the follow-up survey on D.L. Moody, what had 75% of them, in other words, backsliders. How many on the other side? Cursing the world with 75%, in other words, of backsliders is not a good thing.
That's right.
Somebody ought to say amen.
That's right.
But turning around, if you will, and stopping the crime rate in New York City, read, in other words, Finney's not autobiography, because we believe that Fairchild took some liberties, but read his memoirs by the two Duplantis brothers, or Dupuis brothers. Read that one, if you will. His life. Tremendous situation. Okay. Did I kill that rabbit needed? Okay. Notice, if you will, he says, and he spake these words, and many believed on him. See, hard preaching, getting people to believe on him, is where people stick and stay. This idea about this namby-pamby preaching and what like that, so you can get sinners to feel sorry for themselves, that they're in the mess that they're in. That's why they come forward and want a better life for themselves to some degree. No. We're talking about sin.
That's right.
The idea is going to send somebody to hell.
Yeah.
The idea they need to get rid of it, they need to get away from it, what have you like. That's a salvation, I guarantee you, my friend, you can stick with, and we'll stick and stay with you also. If you'll maintain your Christian life like you're supposed to. Let me go a little bit further. It says, and then Jesus said unto those Jews which believed on him, so he's talking to believers, if you continue in my word, then you are my disciples. What does it say? Indeed, that means without a doubt. And ye shall know the what now? See, I'm pulling the thought together. You shall know the truth. And that word know is the idea of intimately and personally, if you will, know it. In other words, that's not a head thing, but you know it because it is. In other words, you're in relationship with it and you're having, in other words, action with the whole thing. He said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall what now? Make you free from what? First of all, the penalty of sin. Don't ever forget that. Look at your neighbor and say, the penalty of sin. That's important. That means, in other words, you ain't going to go to hell anymore. Look at that thing. See if it's the battery's going down or something along that line. But what else? What else do you have power? What else are you free from? Huh?
Power.
The power of sin. If you don't think so, read Romans chapter 6. Read Romans chapter 8. Read the whole Bible.
Yeah, that's right.
Read the whole Bible.
Amen.
Matter of fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you more scriptures and people and what have you and principles. In the next, in other words, several months, I guarantee you, you're going to show this nonsense. I am so sick to death of these namby-pamby preachers telling you that you're just nothing but a sinner saved by grace. I don't know about you, but you know what? Matter of fact, I'm going to show this thing to you. I'm stepping on my 11 o'clock message. Actually, probably another week from now. It's the idea. You realize the idea that the word sinner is, listen to me, has never, in other words, pointed towards somebody that was saved. The word saint is about 64 times. The word sinner is 40 some odd times. And every single one of them is never pointed, except for less than a handful, at somebody that's saved. But listen to me now, before you go, aha. How about the idea every time they're mentioned, they're lost and going to go to hell?
That's right.
You say, what's your point? Well, 60 some odd times you're called a saint. And by the way, the saint, okay, now I don't know why I do this. I can't stand numbers. How about the word saint, which is mentioned 64 times in the New Testament, makes the statement, it says, it's something sacred, person is morally blameless, or consecrated, a holy one. So why aren't we referring to ourselves, in other words, as a saint, a holy one? Somebody that is morally, if you will, blameless. This is coming right straight from Strong's Concordance, just in case you're wondering. Yeah. Why do we keep hearing this mush-mouth nonsense about the idea, oh, we're going to number sinners saved by grace? And if you don't think so, I'm really stepping on my message here. Somewhere along the line. What's my point? Oh, yeah, and ye shall know the truth shall make you free. So that means the idea about freedom from the power of sin. Okay?
Right.
So I find it interesting, I really do. In other words, why in the world is everybody, and I talk about every preacher different I know, seemingly, the idea that they're stuck on the idea about that kind of nonsense.
Right.
What else in other words? Power, from the penalty of sin, the power of sin. One of these days, what can we look forward to? The presence of sin. Is that good? Are you guys enjoying this? Both of you? I'm just checking. Both of you. Okay. You say, what do you mean the presence of sin? Listen, if you'll live like it is, in other words, if you don't want nothing to do with sin down here, I guarantee you, in other words, that's where you're going to end up going. It's a place, my friend, where there's, fix it. Did you turn the fan on? Okay, all right. That's why I'm lying. Hi there. We're kind of informal around here. The very presence of sin in the new heaven and the new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. Right. But I guarantee you, if you'll put up with the sin down here and say, well, I just don't think it's that bad, man, like that, listen, you ain't going.
That's right.
You ain't going.
That's right.
Nail it down, you ain't going. Scripture talks about the idea, he that is unjust, he'll be unjust still. He that is filthy, will be filthy still. But he is righteous. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. They say, oh, our righteousness is filthy rags. Have you ever read the rest of the Bible?
That's good.
Have you ever read the rest of the Bible where the Bible talks about the idea there's a crown of righteousness? Come on.
Yeah.
And he that is righteous, he's going to be righteous still.
Yeah.
Come on. The idea, you know who's accepted, if you will, of God? Him that feareth God and worketh righteousness. That's who's accepted. That's Acts chapter 10, verse 43 or something along that line. Somebody needs to read the rest of their Bible. Do a word study on the word righteous, if you will, in the New Testament, and immediately you'll figure this thing out.
It's good.
Okay. And ye shall know the truth shall make you free. Whenever, in other words, it is that you put up with sin and allow it in your life and other people's life, I say allow it, in other words, not try to do something about it, I guarantee you ain't going. I don't care who you are, what you ever were, or anything else like that. You ain't going.
Amen.
Just in case, in other words, you're wondering. Now, let's go back to where we were at here. So the truth, in other words, is something that's important, isn't it?
Yes.
Because that's what's going to make you free. I said make you, not set you.
That's right.
You know what the difference between set and make is?
Yeah.
Well, you ought to figure it out. It's like here's a bird. Okay, you got him like this. And all of a sudden you do like that. What did I just get through doing? Set him free right then and there. Okay. But the word make you free is the idea. In other words, it's the idea it's working.
Yes.
It's working in
Yes.
your life
Yes.
to make you free. Come on.
Amen.
How many knows the idea? You can put that bird over in the cage. Come on. And it can still be free to move around inside. Get in a bigger cage. Do what you want to. The idea about making something free is different than setting something free.
Yes.
Just in case, in other words, that's why I don't like modern translations, by no stretch of the imagination. Where am I at? It says, now watch this. Now listen to me very careful, because you're fixing to go into a realm that I guarantee you ain't going to like. Notice it says, with all deceitful unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. Also, those that says unrighteousness. You do realize the idea when somebody, in other words, is giving themselves over, in other words, watching ungodly movies, listen to ungodly music, okay? And their minds are worldly, if you will, earthly minded. Listen to me right there. That's people, my friend, that are following this thing down right here.
Yeah.
They're getting to the point where it is, in other words, the truth of what hang on in life doesn't make any difference. And that's why they're deceived. I don't know about you, but you know what I'm sick of? I'm sick of people, whenever, in other words, it is that somebody admonishes, rebukes somebody, encourages somebody, exhortates somebody, exhorts somebody, as far as that goes. And immediately the individual will make a statement like this, well, I don't know what you're talking about, because I think I'm closer to God now than I've ever been. Do you know how many times I've heard that in the last 40 years?
Yeah.
And in other words, not be the truth. You want to know why they don't know it's not the truth? You want to know why? They're deceived.
That's right.
My wife, and we just got through I know it's hard for you to believe, her rebuking somebody. Well, she's just doing what the scripture says to do. We're supposed to admonish one another.
That's right.
And so that's true. That's what. Didn't we go through that last week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Because I've got so much stuff up here, I have no idea what I've done. You say, oh no, that means you're going to repeat it all? Yeah, look at it.
That's right.
Oh. Sure enough, I heard she's kind of lovingly got on her case. Like she can.
Don't look at
What
me.
do you do? I mean, this is live. And then all of a sudden, there's what that baby statement did. I've never been closer to the Lord in all my life. What a joke.
That's right.
I mean, matter of fact, you don't think so. Oh, well, almost 40 of you, in other words, essentially, basically, in other words, said that words you agree with that.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
You already all said it. So in other words, that's not her opinion.
That's right.
It's almost 40 of you. It was 140 last week. Lost 100 last week. Okay. It's a joke, folks. It is. Why? Deceived. Now let me go a little bit further.
That's right.
Well, and this is the thing is, I want to show you guys how people get deceived.
Yeah.
Because the truth, looking at square in the face, biblically, if you will, practically, if you will. In other words, they won't do a thing in the world with it. Notice, if you will, here's what happens after that. I know you're all even gonna like this. And you're gonna understand this. It says that they might be saved, that's the point. And for this cause, God shall send them, was it saved? See, a deception, if you'll allow it, in other words, in your life, immediately, here's what it is. It creates a vacuum. It's just the way things are built.
Right.
It's just the way things are. Whenever you go, anything on that line, you realize that it's got an action, doesn't it? It's the idea, it's drawing something in. If you take the truth and you move it out of the way, guess what just came at you? I said, guess what just came at you? A lie. And there's a whole bunch of them out there.
Amen.
And the idea about God sending those strong delusions, it goes back like this. You realize there ain't nothing that happens, if you will, that God does not allow. And you do what you want to with that. You got a problem with that, and you got a problem with God. And you're charging God foolishly if you're not careful. I'm stepping on my 11 o'clock message once again. Be very, very, very careful about that whole situation. You say, why is that? Because God can use it.
Right.
He uses the devil.
Yeah, that's
That's right.
He uses lying prophets and what have you. Why? Well, I got to go back to the idea. You realize he's got there's something in there that'll keep lying prophets from ever working in your life. It's called the truth.
Yeah, that's right.
And you trifling with it, and you goofing around with it, and you trying to figure out how to get around it, and what have you on that line, you do realize all you're doing is frustrating, if you will, the grace of God.
Yeah.
And where you'll end up falling from the grace of God, one day failing the grace of God if we're not careful. You just cannot do that. You cannot trifle with truth. When the truth hits you, folks, do what you got to do. The best thing to do is grab a hold of it and wrestle that thing down to the ground until it changes you.
Amen.
You're not going to change the truth. It's the Jacob. I'll think of a good word later on. My mind's kind of right now. Just Jacob had a hold of the truth, didn't he? Wrestled with that truth all night long. Whoa! And when he got up there that day, he wasn't walking the same way he was walking when he got there.
That's right.
He had a little bit of a limp. But how many knows, in other words, not only was his name changed, so was his nature. Somebody ought to say amen. He's now got power with God and power with men. He's a prince. Somebody ought to say amen. It's Abraham, Isaac, and We brought forth the 12 tribes, and I can go on. How many of you know that's good stuff? See, if you don't like the truth, grab a hold of it, wrestle that thing to the ground until it changes you.
It's good.
You say, well, how long do I have? Well, he wrestled all night long with it. See, some people don't wrestle with it. All they do is just try to push it around a little bit, and it won't push where they want it to go. What happened is let it go.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you have done nothing but there was introduce yourself to a delusion coming your way.
That's right.
You say, well, what Micaiah, I love Micaiah in the Old Testament, I really do. I love Elijah and Micaiah. You say, why is that? Those are the two sarcastic saints of the Old Testament. That's where it is. That's where I studied at. I studied in the sarcastic school of sarcasm. Do what you want to. Do what you want to. Do great men. See, well, what happened there? There's where Micaiah sat there, and if you will, he made the statement to him, oh, go up. And he said, go up the Ramoth Gilead and all that good stuff, and you'll overcome them, what have you. And he said it in a way where the king sat there and said, don't do that, man. I told you. Speak the truth to me. And what have you. Oh, you want the truth? I don't think you can handle the truth. Okay, we throw all that right quick. So there's where it is immediately. He sat there and said, and told him. He said, well, I'll tell you what. I saw, he said, in other words, a vision. He said, in other words, and who's going to go up and be a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophets and what have you, all that line. And one little evil devil sat there and said, I'll go. Okay? He said, go. But it wasn't because the idea they didn't have the truth first of all, though, wasn't it? Yeah. And then the idea the truth came after that also. They said, in other words, throw him in jail, feed him, if you will, on the bread of affliction and the water of affliction. That means beat him up and treat him bad. He said, when we come back, we'll deal with him. Micaiah makes a statement, oh, if you come back, he said, then I wasn't telling the truth anyway. I'm not a prophet. But you ain't coming back, just in case you're wondering. So I just gave you an illustration of God sending them strong delusions. If you're not going to believe the truth, you realize there's nothing left out there but a lie.
That's right.
Think what you want, believe what you want, do what you want, anything else on that line. I promise you, my friend, that's what's waiting for you.
That's right.
There's where it is. The scripture talks about these people, my friend, are deceiving. No, there's deceiving and being deceived. The Apostle Paul told Timothy. They're deceiving and being deceived.
Right.
That's all over the place. And sometimes when they ain't a deception, it's a distraction. You wouldn't believe how Christians are so stinking distracted today. It reminds me of that little cartoon that I've never watched, and I'm not going to. What? One little thing, in other words, where it is that's sitting there, the guy's talking like squirrel. Now that's all I've seen of it. But he got distracted though, didn't he? Whatever he was supposed to be doing as far as that goes, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to watch. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to watch it. How many's watched that? You can raise your hand. Okay. Should I watch it? Yeah, okay. Do I need my clear play or my Christian? Okay. So I can go back to the idea of the distracted. And sometimes what it is this simply the idea. It's a distraction that leads to a deception. Because that's what the signs and lying wonders are. They're a distraction. Aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
They're a distraction. And then, matter of fact, I'll add that to another D in verse to that 4 points. To that point, those 3 points, yes.
Go with the distraction. There wasn't it Elijah that was in the mountain, and God sent a whirlwind, and he wasn't in the whirlwind. He set fire, and he wasn't in the fire. And God got down to the point where he just spoke to him in a still small voice. And that's the same thing as these looking for signs and lying wonders.
Right. Yeah. See, I think it's the Lord trying to show him. In other words, you're all excited about, in other words, this wind and fire, and wind and fire and rocks being stuff. He said, in other words, you know what? I'm not in it.
That's right.
I'm not in that. But here's what I am in. With a still small voice, he said, Elijah, what doest thou here? Break it up, if you will. What are you doing? And then the idea, what are you doing here? Okay. That's another message. Now, a bit further. For this cause God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Because that's the only thing that's left out there. You're going to believe something whether you think so or not.
That's right.
Well, I'm not going to believe a lie. Yeah, you are. You say, well, I'm not going to do anything. Okay, that's the lie. Well, the devil don't tell you what to do. He just tells you what to do.
Yes,
Don't do
right.
anything. Do whatever you want to do. That's him, just in case you're wondering.
Yes.
You're going to serve somebody. You're going to say either either Satan or you're going to say serve the Savior. It's one or the other.
Yes.
You're going to say the God, if you will, my friend, that made the world, or just say the God of this world.
Yeah.
Good.
That's right.
I ate a dictionary before I came for breakfast. Thesaurus too, by the way. He said, for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. It says that they all might be what now? Damned. Watch this. Now listen to me very carefully. Notice, if you will, the progression. The distraction, I add that. The deception, the delusion, the damnation. That believed not the truth, but had pleasure in. See, that's the idea. And if you're wondering where somebody's at, see what they get pleasure in.
That's right.
Just watch to see what they get pleasure in. It won't take long for you to figure it out.
That's right.
It really won't. And what I think is ridiculous is the idea as Christians, though, is not seeing that clearly before their face. And when something happens, go, well, I didn't see that coming. Were you even looking?
Right.
Were you really even worried about the situation? That's why we're supposed to be worried about one another's reputation here in this church. Giving our lives, if you will, laying down our lives, others for the brethren.
Good.
See, somewhere along the line, if we need to get honest with the scriptures, what it is, we've covenanted with one another too. Otherwise, you're a covenant breaker, just in case you're wondering.
Right.
We need to be watching for one another, because this is serious. Well, there are people going to end up dying going to hell. They end up in a lake of fire someplace because of our silly spiritual sensibilities.
That's right.
I'll eat the rest of the thesaurus this afternoon for lunch. This is what happens. If somebody makes a statement, well, I think there was just something inside of them, and no, it's not true. Not true at all. No, every one of the disciples, my friend, were deceived. Lord even told them, y'all gonna scatter. What was the answer? No, he hadn't. What happened? Scattered. Go ahead.
I was just wanting to know if a person's living in unrighteousness and it brings like deception, how does salvation end up coming into that kind of a situation?
They're turning around the words and being obedient to the truth.
I guess the reason why I'm asking is because if a person's living in unrighteousness and there's deception there, and they don't think that that's the truth.
The spirit of truth, if you will, is the Holy Ghost, convinces this world of sin, righteousness, and of a judgment to come. It's not like it's done. It's over with. If you're set in concrete, in other words, and you've got to go to hell regardless, even when you're deceived. That's not true. Too many people got this thing turned around. Well, that's another thing, too, about people. In other words, talk about the idea that, in other words, that people we've lost over the years and what have you, we can't win back. I got the number going, folks. I got the number going and what have you. I'm going to show you that's not the truth. I'll show you how many people it is we have won back to the Lord as far as that goes, and they're still serving the Lord. And those it is we won back to the Lord here, and ended up going back out again like that. That ain't my fault. All that is, that's a person like Lot. Right? Well, didn't Abraham win Lot to the Lord? Didn't they separate? Didn't Abraham go after him after he found himself in bondage? And we will too, and we are.
That's right, amen.
And will continue to.
Amen.
And so when he turned around and was got him back and what have you, what did Lot do? Where did he go? Where did he go? Did he go back to the church? I mean, where did he go to? Right back to Sodom.
That's right.
Abraham, God can't fix that. God ain't going to fix it. Apparently, because that's exactly where he went. He stayed there and found himself another God that he set there in others to raise his kids. Apparently, in verse 2, and turned around, that's Moab and Ammon, just in case you're wondering, as far as it goes, his grandchildren and children.
That's right.
So just in case you can't figure that one out. Okay? But the idea of us about winning them back here to what it is we believe and stand for, one heck, yeah, I'll give you a number. I'm counting them up right now as far as that goes. So I'll give you the number just like I'm working on the other number.
How do you explain losing them 2 or 3 times?
Then they ain't got good sense. Scriptures is clear about that. They just don't get it, apparently. And that's their problem, nobody else's. in no uncertain terms. It's not the idea that we have to stuck and stay exactly where it is we're at.
That's
So
right.
like all these other ones, it's moving, got a moving target to hit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not so
Hurry,
much
we're over
that-
time.
It's not so much that they don't know, it's they don't care.
Yeah, well, this goes back to the idea that they don't care about truth.
Yeah.
Once you find it, what have you, why do you keep messing with it? That's the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. When you know for a matter of fact that you're right with God, and in other words, everything, and people, in other words, your family may end up being saved in that kind of situation, and you become a moving target. Okay, write that down. Moving target, the idea of Kim made a mistake with the idea of losing 4 or 5 times. Oh, how many times did we lose Peter?
Several.
Quite a few times. And I'm going to show that. Apparently, I'm going to have to. The idea of him up, down, in and out, back and forth, lost, saved, lost, saved, lost, saved.
So
Well,
he had a mental problem?
No, no, spiritual. No, it got nothing to do with mental. Okay? Let's pray. Father, we praise you now, Lord, your touch lives today, Lord. We love you today. Thank you and praise for this word, what it is that's meant to us. Lord, and ask all the precious name of Jesus for a second pray. And all of God's people said, Amen. Amen. Y'all dismissed.